In order to uncover the earliest evidence of Chinese people living in Swansea, the Swansea Chinese Community Co-op Centre carried out a research with the help of Swansea University and the West Glamorgan Archive Service. This section is a summary of the findings. The UK census has played an important part in our research. Detailed national censuses have taken place every 10 years since 1841. The most recent was in 2011. The UK census is an invaluable resource as it gives an important insight into family households in England and Wales during the period 1841 to 2011, including information on family size, place of birth, age, and occupations. According to historians, the first recorded Chinese person to enter Britain was in 1686. In the 19th century, Chinese settlers in Britain was mainly Cantonese from South China. For the most part, there were seamen on British ships who settled in British ports, such as Liverpool, London, and Cardiff. There is little evidence of Chinese settlement in Swansea in the census before 1911. However, we do have scraps of information to suggest that Chinese people have been living, visiting Swansea since the early 1900s. Estimating the size of the Chinese population of Swansea over the last 100 years could be problematic. The census from 1911 to 1981 only recorded the place of birth. Therefore, we are given no information about the wider Swansea-born Chinese population. These people would have recorded simply as British, not Chinese. This means that every census until 1981 has greatly underestimated the true size of the Chinese population of Swansea. This changed in 1991 when a new question about ethnicity was included in the census questionnaire form. The task of estimating the true size of Swansea Chinese population is further complicated by the fact that some of the ethnic Chinese who settled in South Wales in the 20th century were born in Malaysia, India, and numerous British colonies. Again, these people would not have been recorded as Chinese by the census until 1991. Furthermore, it has also been the case that many first-generation Chinese in Swansea have tended to be suspicious of the motives of the census, and they are probing questions about family history and home life. Language difficulties would have done little to allay these suspicions. This has traditionally led to high levels of Chinese non-participation in the collection of census data, especially among the small numbers of non-British subjects who have settled in the UK illegally. The census returns certainly do have their limitations, but they are still a useful tool when tracing general population trends within the Chinese community. The first definite reference in the census to Chinese people resident in Swansea was in 1921. 13 Chinese of alien nationality were recorded as living in the town. In 1931, the number of mainland Chinese born in Swansea had risen to 81. During the 1930s, some early Chinese settlers began to establish small hand wash laundries in the town. Men such as Yin Shon established a laundry in Woodfield Road, Morriston, in the 1930s. Chu Kam Wing, Kwang Song, and Fu Nai Lao also established a similar business at 40 King Edward Road in the 1940s. During the 1950s, the first Chinese restaurants were opened in Swansea. The Sing Kong restaurant at 12 Castle Street and the Canton restaurant in Singleton Street. By 1960s, they were joined by the Golden Gate restaurant at 9 St. Helens Road and the Min Yang at 20 Castle Street and the Ten Sang at 224 Oxford Street. By the 1970s, the number of Chinese in Swansea, according to the census, was 95. However, this was certainly an underestimate of the true size of the community. Up to the 1970s, the Chinese population in Swansea was largely composed of Chinese men working as waiters and cooks in the Chinese restaurants. During this decade, some restaurant workers began to cut free from the established restaurants to open small takeaway businesses. With their own business premises and living accommodation on the first floor, it was now possible for Chinese men to ask their wives and children to join them in the UK. By the 1980s, the Chinese-born population in Swansea was recorded at 220. Since a question about ethnicity was first included in the England and Wales census in 1991, the Chinese community has grown rapidly in step with the growing number of overseas students enrolling at Swansea universities. The population in Wales identifying themselves as ethnic Chinese between 1991 and 2011 increased by 8,837. The population in Swansea also significantly increased during this period by 1,528. Nowadays, the Chinese community in Swansea is made up of a variety of different generation Chinese immigrants from different places, different backgrounds, with different standards of education. There are also many British-born Chinese. The Chinese population of Swansea, according to the 2011 census, is 2,052. Is this the true figure? What we know for sure is that the Chinese people have been resident in Swansea for the last 100 years.